Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John, and I have an album review for the international version of High Voltage by the band AC/DC. It is also its 45th anniversary, and I will also be talking about the two Australian releases that came right before it. So before I begin, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. So High Voltage was released on April 30th, 1976 on Atlantic Records, but it was actually released in the United States a little later on May 14th, 1976 on Atco Records. The album was very successful. It sold 3 million copies in the US and basically introduced the world to AC/DC. So they did have two albums out in Australia, like before this one was released. And the names of the albums were High Voltage and T.N.T. So I'm going to talk about the track listings because all three albums do have different track listings. They were eventually all released on different like box sets and EPs. So for example, the 74 Jailbreak EP was released internationally in 1984, and then there was the Bonfire box set, which was released later, and that has all the songs from the original Australian releases. I'll be talking about that, but before I begin, check out this European cover of AC/DC's High Voltage. It looks like their new wave 80s version of AC/DC. I just discovered it. I've never seen it before, but while I was researching, I came across it and I thought it was pretty cool. So the original High Voltage album was released in Australia in 1975. The album cover is very different. If you take a look, you can actually see like a little dog in the left-hand corner, like urinating on this electrical transformer. So I'll talk about the tracks in that, and you'll probably recognize some of these tracks from the Jailbreak EP. So side one is Baby Please Don't Go, then She's Got Balls, Little Lover, and Stick Around. And side two is Soul Stripper, You Ain't Got a Hold on Me, Love Song, and Show Business. And the next album is called T.N.T. It was released in December of 1975 in Australia. And this album cover is a little different. You can check it out right there. It's pretty cool, but it's a lot different. It's a pretty cool like photograph. And here are the songs. So it's A Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll singer, The Jack, Live Wire, T.N.T, Rocker, Can I Sit Next to You Girl, High Voltage, and School Days, which is a Chuck Berry cover. You will see that this album is very similar to the international version of High Voltage. That last song, School Days, the Chuck Berry cover, can be found on the Bonfire box set. I'm going to talk about the songs on the international version of High Voltage now. So it starts out with It's a Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll. This song brings back many memories for me. It was one of my favorite soundtracks called The School of Rock. Jack Black did his version of this song, and it's really just a great rocker. I remember I used to play the CD all the time, and I even remember my 2-year-old daughter at the time walking around the house and singing this song. You know, that's how much I played that song in the house. That was definitely one of my favorites, and it also has bagpipes. There are very few hard rock songs with bagpipe solos, but AC/DC were the only ones who could really like get away with it. After this is a song called Rock and Roll Singer. This is a really good deep cut. I remember watching a video with Pete Pardo on Sea of Tranquility, and he was talking about this being one of his favorite deep cuts because it's called Rock and Roll Singer, but the intro is like this long jam. It takes about like a minute or so before the vocals even come in, but it's just such an underrated track, and this is just another one of my favorites. After that is a song called The Jack, and I remember trying to learn this song on the guitar. It's not really too difficult to play, just a straightforward like 12-bar blues song. And this shows off their more like laid-back style. AC/DC do it really well. There's a really cool like verse section. It's really mellow, then it just kind of like picks up. Bon Scott really makes the song really great with his vocal performance. The next song is called Live Wire, and this is just one of those songs that just defines the classic AC/DC sounds. It starts out with like those bass notes And just like the chord strums, those like classic, like signature chord strums that are in the intro of an AC/DC song, and just moves into the main riff, and it just starts rocking from there on. This song is basically like the blueprint for like many songs that came after it in the next like 45 years. The next song is called T.N.T, and this is a classic, and it is a very influential song on the heavy metal genre. The song was covered by death metal band 6 Feet Under, and this is one of their like most well-known songs. It is one of their heaviest. The riff is just crushing. It's just really amazing, and I really like the backing vocals. That really like makes the song like what it is, and this is probably one of their best. After that is a song called Can I Sit Next to You Girl, and this is one of their deep cuts. I really like the intro solo by Angus Young. It's really bluesy, and the song is a really good guitar riff. And the riff that comes like right after like he sings like the first verse, really it's such an amazing riff. And I really like the bass sound in the song. I think it really like makes it. Next is another deep cut called Little Lover, and I guess you can call it a ballad or a slow blues song. Over the years, AC/DC would be known to write these types of songs with these lyrics that are filled with a lot of like those innuendos. It was something they became known like throughout their career for, and this is one of their earliest examples. And speaking of innuendos, the next song is called She's Got Balls, and this is a really great opening riff, heavy, hard-driving song. Probably the first in a long series of AC/DC songs with balls in the title. So there's this one, there's Big Balls, there's Ball Breaker, Play Ball. If anyone knows any others, please put it down in the comment section, because I am thinking of doing a ranking video of AC/DC songs with balls in the title, coming soon to JC Rock and Metal Reviews. But anyway, this is one of their classics, and it's just something they did very well. And the last song is called High Voltage, the title track. Now, I don't know if anyone has noticed it, but like the intro reminds me a lot of like a typical like Kiss song of that time. I don't know if it's coincidental or not, but it's just a great hard rocker by AC/DC. Great lead playing by Angus, and one of those songs just talking about the rock and roll lifestyle, and just something they would write like many more songs later on. So in conclusion, such a great album. You can nitpick and say it's a compilation album, but it is known as their first release or their first international album. All the Bon Scott albums are really solid. They are my favorite out of all of them. And that is it. So let's talk about this album in the comments. Coming up this weekend, I have new releases by Gojira and Evil. So I will be going back to the heavy metal this weekend. Check out the other in-video links. I have done many AC/DC videos over the past 6 months, so I will be linking a few right there. That is it. See you in the next one.